Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
And Sam Pruitt. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, and
It
guess
was
what? It's
only a week, but it felt like a lot longer, didn't it?
I tell you, I think everybody's got that going on these days, man. It's mid-year and we're like, you're doing
Woo!
some resetting, I'm doing some resetting, like looking at the future. So that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to really go into like, what do we do to some stories you have about like, okay, I was on track for this, like your 100 race, right? 100 miler, and you're like, not doing that, right? So, like the pivots, the redirects, the restarts, or the review and reflect, and like, what's next? So, that's what we'll
Mhm.
cover today and just share with you how we do it, how often we do it, because it's not just at June, right? Like, I see you do it when
No.
you're like, the train is off freaking track. We got to reboot
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And that's my biggest message that's going to be for this whole convo is like you can do it whenever the hell you damn well please. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a mid-year. Mid-year is a good professionally and even personally, it's usually a good time to
Mm.
do it before you go into summer and everything sort of changes energetically and seasonally.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like whenever I gut feeling intuitively know things are becoming super resistant or sticky or recirculating or just I feel stagnant even, whatever that might be, resistance, stagnation, etc. I'll be like, "Hold up. Let's pause for a minute here.
Mm.
Am I still moving in the direction of my dreams or is something shifting for me, whether it's external or internal?" So I really want to just double down on people honoring that
Mm,
feeling.
mhm, mhm. And I want to, add to that is that you're present to your dreams and your goals, right? Like some people like are just kind of like winging it, right? And I think you and I really are, and people listening to this, it's like important to write that shit down, like write down what you're up to and share it. And we'll be talking about accountability, right? So what I love is it's not like, oh, like I have done this and I'm totally guilty of like, oh yeah, I did say in January I was going to do something, and lose track of it, right? So I love that you have the awareness because sometimes too, I'm guilty of like having too many. Like I'll have too.
I was going to say, Paula, you're not the one forgetting it. If anything, you have so many things. And I'm laughing out loud because A, I can relate. And then secondarily, I just had a conversation with a loved one this week. I bought a new calendar. This is one of the things I do
Oh,
around summer
really?
because you can get the year and a half calendars. They come out.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just the 12-month thing. And
Oh, okay.
this is a routine that I normally do.
Huh.
Of course, I already had a calendar, right? But I reset my calendar. I literally do that. And so this
Wow.
loved one was like, "Oh my goodness, how many calendars do you have? How can you have another calendar? How are you getting another calendar?" And I'm like, "Dude, you don't even have a calendar."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a normal thing for me. And let me show you why.
Yeah.
Right.
Look
And
how
it feels so good for me. It's like a cleansing,
well, and
you
I've
know?
seen you do this. You're funny because you get all, things stirred, it's like this like
Shit
energetic.
piles up, dude.
Well, yeah, well, you get like big things that you want to, and then you're like slash, 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 And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's your power. So let's talk about like why do them? Like why? What is the key here? What are we? Why would somebody do a mid-year reset? What are some of the
Yeah.
reasons? Yeah.
I mean, if it's professionally and it's business, then you need to be doing that on a more regular basis, quarterly or whatever your planning is. But if you do it mid-year professionally, right, then you're really taking a good damn analysis of what has happened for the first 6 months in your business or
Mm-hmm.
in your professional life. If
Mm-hmm.
you're chasing career goals or whatever all is going on with you, right? To do that and be honest about it and have a sit down with yourself or your peers in your company is super, super important. So you can see, are we going to achieve our goals for this year that we set? Or do we need to strategically make some changes in order to ensure those things happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you wait till fall, it is too damn late to course
Mm-hmm.
correct,
Mm-hmm.
right? So professionally, you've got to really be doing this on a more regular basis. That's the reason I would say professionally. What would you say professionally is a good reason to do it?
Well, so there's a couple of systems out there, and then maybe there's hundreds. I'm just going to talk about two that I know of that I'm fond of. One is called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, and you said a 10-year, 5-year, 3-year. I'm like 10-year, like things change so damn much, but it is good to have those. Like I believe in like having, shoot for the moon goals and stuff. But for me, and then so EOS is one, and then the other one is what's called the 12-week year, which is
Okay.
basically like a quarter. So you do, I mean, if you can get super focused, and I love because both of them break it down into 90-day goals. Because I'm a huge fan of like, man, in business, you got to have like one, two, three at the most core things that you and your team are doing, and that's it. Because,
Mhm.
and I think you're pointing to like earlier this year, or I tend to have so many things that I want to get up to, right? And I lose track because more than three, I think the teams, the founder, whatever, we lose track of all of it, right? So
Mhm.
mid-year is great because you've got 6 months of this year, and I find that like strategically, you have a horizon of what you can see out in front of you. 90 days is usually like you can move some things or you can adjust
Mhm.
some things. 6 months is like things can change, like especially with AI and social media and the shifts and the algorithms and things like that in marketing.
And the economy and the political climate.
And your team too,
Yeah.
like you
Oh,
like
yeah. Key
right?
players.
Key players can come and go, and markets can shift, things like that. So I'm like a big fan. Like right now, I'm working with. I'm going to dive into a story that's a little deeper than I thought, but so I have a client right now who last year she brought on a key player, right? Like that was like big business. He'd worked at big companies. You would know the names if I said them, and was like, okay, great, have him help you build strategic plans and get things going, and like never got traction. Like
Ooh.
the dude just was like there, some ideas, whatever. And so she, hired me earlier this year and I was like, all right, what are we doing? Like, let's get some, and so we had a sit down, we had a strategic planning session. Like, let's focus on this for the, what needs to be most important? What is driving revenue? What isn't? Where can we eke out or we need to focus on? Got that super clear. And like every meeting, that's all we talk about. Like, okay, it's sales training. It's this one particular campaign that she's doing, forgive me, I've got a lot of clients in my
Yeah.
mind right now, forget what the third one is, but it's like those things we talk about constantly, right? And they know
Yeah.
what the focus is, right? So, and I think that's true in our person.
Otherwise, you see the opposite, which I had a business conversation yesterday. I know we're a little bit off the wheels here, but like it was the opposite. I have a person in leadership and coming in and making some significant changes within the team. And they're so micro focused on these daily sort of survival metrics and
Hmm.
things like that. And I'm like, okay, but where's like the next 60, 90-day calendar? Where's the like where are the more bigger picture
Mm-hmm.
strategic elements to this plan? Not
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing tomorrow or are we hitting the numbers next week,
Mm-hmm.
that's survival mode. So you can get stuck in that too if you're not careful.
Well, what I like to see is, you start with the 90 or, you start higher than that and you break it down in your 90. Like these are the core three things. And when we look through that lens, right, then we can say, okay, what KPIs do we need to measure for sales training? Like, is it number of calls they're making? Is it, whatever, how are the close ratios? How are appointment settings? Things like that, right? So and then with our marketing, I was like, okay, we need a campaign for this quarter, right? Okay, what are we focusing, and so you can break it down into like, oh, this mailing and this and smaller pieces, but not having the bigger vision, like you said, it's like, what is all this good for?
I think it's
To
suicide. You can't make any intelligent decisions.
yeah,
I mean, I was like, I don't see how we can decide on these 10 things we're supposed to be talking about
yeah.
when we don't have like
Well,
basic
and how
foundational.
this relates personally. So you're helping me. We're going to talk after this episode about my training plan for my next, it's not a race, but it's my next big track, right? And so that I've got this goal, and it's like, okay, you and I both know to hit something like, 10 days of hiking, you got to prep for that, right? And then what it looks like on the every day is like, okay, this is what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, when, so it is broken down by the daily. But if I just started with the daily, like, would I ever get there? Or, so yeah,
It's
yeah,
easy to lose motivation for
yeah,
many, many reasons. So, okay, now we're on to the personal reason to do this
yeah,
mid-year,
yeah,
redo or reanalysis or, redirect, if you want to call it a redirect, really. Um, Personally, there's tons of reasons to do it. Like what you just said, you could have personal goals that are physical or health or athletic. That's really critical. You're not going to set that as a 12-month goal. Those are periodized training plans that usually run 12 16 to 24 weeks. They definitely are not something you do for the whole year. Like you don't spend a whole year training for a marathon or a 5K or whatever. You'd make yourself crazy. You would
But some
make
people
yourself
have the big
crazy.
goal. I mean, ultras, and I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
some,
yeah. I mean, obviously
yeah,
I have,
yeah,
crazy ass shit but I stack these goals.
yeah,
Again, it's strategic, the stacking of them.
yeah.
But from another personal perspective or vantage point, it could be financial goals,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
setting a goal for the year, great, I have a financial goal to save X or to budget appropriately, blah, blah. But like those check-ins
Yep.
are really important, and maybe something did change.
Mm.
So really, a lot of times what we're talking about with these redirects is life happened, which
Mhm.
by the way is happening every single second as we just stand here and breathe. And so therefore circumstances changed. It could be external circumstances. Like maybe I can't save that money now because my car broke down. Maybe I have medical bills for a loved one I didn't have before, whatever, right? Like things just change, job changes,
Mhm.
etc. Or
Mhm.
maybe I got a massive bonus.
Mhm.
Hey, and
Mhm.
then, all of a sudden I'm like, damn, that's go straight into savings or whatever. It could be relationship status changes. Like
Mhm.
there's so many things that make our life different on the daily.
Mhm.
And so why wouldn't we, knowing that change is inevitable and constant, be also sort of looking at our goals in relationship to that and our strategy towards those goals? So it just makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the two things there I'm present to as you were saying that is one is the goal that you were aiming for, something has changed, right? Like either seems unachievable, and I'm not always saying like give it up or whatever, but like how can you redirect for that? How can you pivot to still keep the goal, but maybe change your approach, right? And then there's ones like for me, I'll share. So I love these quarterly. So for the past 90 days, I've been in my what's called Miracle Quarter through my Landmark program. So I did that 12-month program. February, we ejected from that, went into what's called Miracle Quarter. And so the cohorts from that group that we all sort of graduated, we created a little accountability group and set new 90-day window goals for, and so I had 5 or 6 of those, and that's coming to an end. So you can have a 90-day window completing inside, let's say, a bigger 12-month goal or whatever it is. And then you go, okay. And sometimes it's looking back and going, I hit 3 out of 4, or I hit 80% of this one and I want to finish it. Like I didn't get it. So it's taking that opportunity, stepping back and putting it into the future. Like right now, so I was working, one of my goals this past 90 days was AI mastery, really studying and like using that muscle of AI. So I feel great about that. I don't want to like up done, won't continue. It was like,
Next.
okay, yeah, I want to continue that. And I've got a new goal that's we've talked about is my 100-day challenge for, being more and more present on YouTube. So like that's creates a whole new set of like, what am I doing on the daily and what do I need to, and things like that. So I really love those stretch goals for that. So it can be either that goal that you had, you're something's in the way, right? Like something's impeding you achieving it. So you have to change the strategy. Ideally, not change the goal because it was something that you wanted. If you can still achieve it, like use your brain in, or other people's brains to what else can I do? How can I still get this goal, right?
Yeah.
But then
Don't
there's things,
abandon it.
but then there's things like you with your 100 miler, right? So talk a little bit about that. Like that
Yeah.
was, yeah.
It's similar to kind of what you're saying, though. I didn't abandon the goal. I had a fall goal. So I've got July, John Muir Trail, solo, start to finish, right? And then I had this fall goal of this 100-mile race. I have done that race before. I felt pretty comfortable signing up for it. But then as I got into my training program and I was just really recalibrating all of my health and fitness, bit from front to back because of everything that transpired with my back surgery and all this yada yada stuff, I thought, this is really not reasonable for me
Mm,
for many, many reasons, time constraints, but also just physically, I'm not giving my body enough time
mm,
to get where it needs to get to have a good experience. Could I
totally.
muscle through it because I'm a stubborn SOB? Yeah, but what is the point?
Mm,
Right.
mm,
So then I was kind of playing with it, giving myself the grace to sort of play with it.
mhm,
And then I ended up of course, I got tempted with a different race, which does happen on a regular basis. And it's actually one I'm way more interested in on the Arizona Trail. I've never done it. It's on my bucket list. This is a brand new 100-mile race. And I was like,
wow.
okay, easy decision for me.
Wow.
Fall is done. I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm moving it to the spring. I feel super confident I can be
Mm,
ready by then. And
mm,
also, I'm much more excited about going to that race
mm,
than repeating this other one, right? So there's so many reasons for me to like take that goal, reposition it,
mhm,
freshen it up, buff it up, and then look at, okay, now what's it going to take for me with the change in timeline to achieve that goal?
mhm,
Sometimes you need to take shit just off.
mhm.
Like,
Yep.
you didn't get it done and it needs
Mhm.
to just go away. Like sometimes that's a reality too. Do you have any experiences with that?
Well, I was one thing I just wanted to say in addition to what you're saying is so you we could look at the goal like you could one you could say, oh, it was to complete that race, right? And I would say that wasn't why you signed up for it necessarily. You know, a 100 miler is inspiring to you. So what you did is you just looked at how can I shift the timing of it. You said timing wise that you know, and so there's a component to keeping the goal in place, and sometimes it's just the timing of it. So like, can I do it 2 weeks later? Can I do it 6 months later? Whatever it needs to be, but keep that core of the goal, right? Same thing with like financial, like you were talking about earlier. It's like, oh, save X amount by whatever. So still have that goal, but maybe it needs to be moved out 30 days or 3 months or something like that. So I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you said though, like pivot, like canceling. Oh, yeah, definitely evaluating because, I have definitely had times where something seems exciting and inspiring and
In
like, that's
January.
totally what I should be doing this year. And then get into it and I'm like, and you know what? Like, this is our life, right? It's not anybody else's life. Even if you've committed it to somebody else on the external, it's like, it's not for you. If it's not for me, then like, okay, but consciously choose it. Don't just like wimp out, right? And I think there's a place in your intuition and your heart where okay, yeah, here's why. And it's not a justifying, it's a understanding. It's like a conversation you have with yourself, like, yeah, that doesn't make sense for me right now. So,
Yeah, and generally our mode of operation is when we eliminate something from the, let's call it New Year's, you know, goal list or whatever, we don't just like bail on the goal and then go on about like having a vacation for the next 6 months. We're like, no, but this other thing is taking precedence now. My gaze has shifted in a new direction
mm,
based on opportunity or availability or resources or invitations or whatever. And
mm,
I want to put that energy, those resources in that direction rather than this other, right? And not feel any sense of obligation or guilt or whatever, especially like what you said, making that a commitment to someone else.
mm,
Okay, so we're going to do this trip in the fall and we're going to go here and it's going to cost a lot of money and blah blah, and then you get like into the middle of the year and it's not working for you for whatever reason, but you force yourself to do it because you committed to these two friends or whatever the thing is to go on that vacay to Hawaii or go do whatever the hell the thing is, but really you have no desire to do it.
mm,
It's totally insane to do it.
yeah.
Insane to do it. It should be completely against your gut and intuition and your value system to continue on that path.
Yeah, I
No.
would say are you congruent? Do you have inner congruence that
Hmm.
the decision that you're making is right for you, right? Don't make it for other people. Don't make it about other people. Is it congruent for you? Do you feel in alignment about it? Totally, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to keep checking in on all these things, right?
Definitely, definitely. So, yeah,
Hmm.
good, 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 good. Well, so what are some of the ways that we set and evaluate?
How?
How do we
Mhm.
evaluate whether something should be tossed or something should be kept and moved? Like what are some of the thoughts, processes that you go through to,
Hmm.
what are questions you ask yourself, maybe?
I mean, at this point, I've been doing it so long, it pretty much bubbles up for me pretty quickly,
Yeah.
whether I'm even wanting to think about it or
Mm,
conscious of it. So
mm,
that's kind of just like a spider instinct or whatever that
mhm,
I've developed. But
mhm,
initially, that was not the case at all. I
mm,
would just get in the middle of the abyss of the year and be literally drowning,
mm,
and maybe I would be sick or I would be tired or I would be pissed off every day or I would whatever, like
mm,
physical symptoms would start
mm,
brewing. And
mm.
so then I would be forced to do it. So at that junction, usually something would be like, hey, 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 hey.
Well, like this morning you said,
Wake up, Sam.
well, if you had, so like this morning you said you had your workout and something was just off. Like, the energy output just wasn't there, right? And if you had that, or the runs, you weren't able to finish them. Like if you started to notice as you're tracking with your training, whether you've had to cancel a couple of them because something's come up, or you got sick or whatever, right? If you just start seeing like the output or whatever, you got to evaluate, wow, I can't even complete the trainings that I'm doing right now. Like I'm not even at the level I need to be at. And so it's about evaluating that right then and there, right?
Yeah, and figuring out the whys, right? If you're
Mm-hmm.
not reaching that halfway savings goal or that fitness goal or that whatever fill in the blank thing,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to be honest, really honest about why that's not happening. Like you said, is it just because I've sort of lost motivation or I'm just kind of procrastinating and being lazy? Or is there literally some things that are happening that need to be addressed? So that can fall into two different, really different buckets, right? So evaluating, looking at really honestly, sometimes you need to do that with another person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in business and professionally, this is really important.
Totally.
Somebody else's eyeballs need to get on that, okay?
Yeah.
Because we work with visionaries, with entrepreneurs, business owners, usually small, middle-sized business, and they're like, literally,
There's so
I
much
got
going
it all. I got it. I got it. Literally, they're falling backwards. I got it.
on.
And we're like, but do you? But do you though? And it's okay to say, I don't got it.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
for someone who's supportive of you, without judgment, we are very like non judgmental. We're here to support and all that. Go, okay, let's just pause for 2 seconds, take this, dismantle this for a minute, and then look at the pieces.
Yeah.
What should you really pick up? Should you pick up the 20-pound weights or should you put the 150 barbell on your back right now? Okay. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Mm-hmm.
doing that with another person professionally or even personally is super helpful if you can.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, it's going to be calendars and journals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's literally writing stuff down and being like, okay, dump it all out first. Ba la 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 la. Here's all the things. Oh my God, I got so many things. Oh my God, And then with a calendar and going, okay, let me see what is reasonable here.
Mm-hmm.
And also what still looks like something I actually give a shit about.
Mm-hmm.
Because many, many times when I do that dump list or when I've done it historically, 50% of it, I was like, don't even care anymore. Don't want to do it. Like
Mm.
it's, if I am being honest.
Yeah, and there's something that I just want to say, and I can't remember. I think it was in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, or somewhere like that. And this is just has to go with like recalibrating, whether it's a lifestyle shift or a training thing or whatnot. I can't, I wasn't prepped to answer this right here and now, but it just occurred to me. So I'll describe it as best I can. But it's like distance to goal, time to goal. The further out it is, if it's not present right now, that what you were talking about, like, do I lose momentum? Do I lose motivation? Right? It's your job. If it's like a long-term thing, I mean, I think an easy example of this is if you sign up for, let's say, a 2-year master's program or something that's going to take a while. We're not just talking like in 90 days, you're going to run a race or something, but like in a few years, you've got the structure in place that like will keep you on track. It's like, yeah, every quarter you're going to class, like you've got that goal. But in our own life, right, we can have things that are going to take a while to get to, whether, longer than 3 weeks, 3 months, let's say. So when we lose sight of that, the brain is like, blah, so you've got to keep it in the present. So you've got to keep bringing yourself back, like you said, to the why. Like, why am I doing this? And
Mm-hmm.
that can help when you have people surrounding you. So the best thing is to like have someone else in the game with you. Like I've got a cohort partner and he and I are doing this 100 days together. And we're literally sometimes, because we're 6 days in or something, we're like calling each other on the daily because it feels so good to know, okay, this is 100 days. This is going to take something. And somebody's there in the trenches with me. I mean, like, we're like at the end of the day, just like sweating it and be like, oh my God, I can't believe what happened today, like all this stuff. So
Yeah.
sharing in that can really keep those longer distance things. And not that 100 days is so long, but like things that, yeah, especially if you're pulling new muscles, right? And the other thing I wanted to talk about is capacity, because you've coached me on this too. I mean, I think sometimes when the decision is made, the capacity in your life looks different. I'd love for you to talk about capacity.
It always looks different.
So you have to talk about, just tell, rant on capacity, because I love your thoughts on capacity, the way to approach that. Like people are like, what is that? Is it like filling a cup, the capacity of a cup? Like, what is capacity and how does that relate to what we're talking about here?
Yeah, and ultimately, when I said I sort of just have this spidey sense now, it is the capacity element of that that is the spidey sense. So just to kind of dig into that is like, I am so in touch with my daily and even like hourly to hourly capacity, never mind week or month or whatever. So it's how I feel
Mm,
and how I am emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and physically able to handle the things that are happening, the things that are coming my way, the things that I'm putting out, the things that are coming in, right? It's the ability I have as a unique individual person, separate from everybody else in the world, to handle life, right?
mm,
And that's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. Like, because I have built enormous capacity, as have you, to handle a big load. But then there are times where that big load and my capacity shrink,
mm,
sometimes strategically, sometimes against my will,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
right? Because of life or whatever.
Well, think about when
So,
you had your back problem. Like, how much
yeah.
capacity did you have? I mean, you were in level 9, 10 pain. Like,
Right. Right. Because my capacity, because of those circumstances, shrunk in an instant, literally in a second, right?
mm,
It went from me having 150% capacity for life to, oh my goodness, if I have 10% tomorrow, that will be
yeah.
amazing, right? And then there are just times and seasons of your life where that capacity is going to ebb and flow.
Mm,
People should not think or get attached to, I'm a type A person and therefore I should always be at
mm,
150% capacity. Again, we coach entrepreneurs, business people, high level people, and they're always like, this is just who I am in the world. It's like, no, dude, no, your capacity will change and it does change.
mm,
And you should be respectful of that.
mm,
Because if you override that and you don't get in tune with your mental, physical, emotional capacity because of all these things, then you will get sick, you will get injured, you won't achieve your goals. There will be absolutely downfall, triage will have to happen at some point
mhm.
because you ignored that,
Yeah.
right? We're all
We
humans.
pay the price. The carnage is us, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
You know,
some people honestly need to build their
I was just gonna
capacity.
say, I was like, I want to talk on the
Okay,
other side of that.
y'all.
Like, how do you build it? Because I feel like a lot of people I talk to, just little things overwhelm. And I'm like, that's not that overwhelming, to me anyway, right? Because we've, like you were referring to, like our capacity's been built. So where does capacity building show up? What would we do to build capacity? Something that you've
Mhm.
done, maybe.
Yeah, it's totally a muscle, right? You develop it over life
Mm,
experiences that you either willingly or unwillingly take on, right? And through the building of those muscles, of
mm,
that capacity muscle, if you will, if you want to think of it as a muscle,
mhm,
you're doing the reps
mm,
because you're handling, whether it's growing a business, growing a family, doing some kind of crazy physical challenges, crazy, to the
mhm,
individual, whatever that might look like. For some
mhm,
people, it's just starting to exercise, it's just starting to take care of their health. It feels totally overwhelming. They don't have capacity to cook a meal
mm,
or to get an exercise routine in for 20 or 30 minutes a day, right? Their capacity is so small in this area.
mhm,
And we're not judging. We're just saying that you need to build that up.
mm, mm,
Okay. There is no resiliency there. Emotional fitness, emotional resiliency, physical capability, focus, just being absolutely dedicated and consistent, right? Like all of that is building your capacity
mm.
so you can, over time, accomplish great things. So if you stay at that really low capacity throughout your days, it's going to be problematic. I do know that people are under a lot of stress, and we're going to talk about the stress hormones pretty soon here on the podcast. People should listen to that. But
Yeah,
that's their body and their nervous system telling them that they don't have capacity. They're being
physically.
triggered by
Yeah,
every little thing.
yeah.
Okay. So that's a physiological thing. That's not a reality,
Mm,
right? Like their mind, in many cases, is making up a story around that.
mm,
And so that's a whole other conversation for us. But like building capacity is consistently putting yourself into places, experiences, things, environments where you're building the muscle of resiliency and capability. I'm going to do the John Muir Trail solo. People think it's totally nuts, right? I'm going to be gone for 22 days or whatever in the wilderness by myself. And people think I've completely lost my mind. And I'm like, this is the best thing I could ever be doing.
Mhm.
I can't freaking wait, right?
Mhm.
But I've spent 30 years building the capacity as a human being to be able to physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, skills,
Mhm.
fitness, health, to be able to do that. I
Mhm.
didn't all of a sudden get this crazy idea and now off I run into the woods with no like capacity to be successful,
Yeah.
right? So
And some
that's
people
me
do that.
building that's me building capacity for that thing, right? But
Yeah.
this is happens in business all the time.
Yeah, I
When
would
you start a business, do you have
yeah.
capacity? No, it's through the building of the business.
Yeah.
You don't even know what the hell's about to happen when you start the business. It's
Mm.
all rainbows and unicorns and sparkly dust.
Mhm. Mhm. I would say two things I want to say is control, like the minds need to control, and then the second is the story you tell yourself, right? So first I want to touch upon like control. So I think people who don't see their capacity or their comfort zone as a malleable, a flexible thing is because they're trying to control themselves and the outcomes and the results and stuff like that overly so like see your comfort zone as like a flexible thing that you test every so often, right, or regularly if you really want growth. And then the story you tell yourself, like you have an empowering story. You have built or whatever, like you were born with it, Miss Leo. Like you have an empowering story. Like I was coaching someone last week, and like her go-to triggered from childhood was overwhelm and then abort. Like just like,
Mm.
like from childhood trying to learn complex science or something, and then she like couldn't understand it or couldn't keep up at that particular class, not like all the classes, but like that particular class, and then told herself she was stupid, and then she just like aborts and checks out, and it's like shows up in her life, like, and she's learned massive things, and I'm like reminding like, hey, remember, like you studied this whole industry that was super hard to get into. You're one of the few females in it, and you did it, right? Like you can do that. And she's like, oh yeah, so, but that inner story, that inner dialogue that was like historical from being a little girl was quickly overwhelm, abort, like, oh, don't do it, and then she just keeps setting herself back, not getting into action, delay, kind of like, woe is me. And I was like, new story, new story. That's just outdated, look at all this
Dude, you see this
evidence.
in parenting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can say that because I'm a parent and a grandparent. Okay, y'all. This whole thing that like it's getting hard and you need to swoop on in and save the kid because
Mm,
God forbid they fail at it.
mm,
Okay, what is that shenanigans?
right.
Please stop that immediately. We
Yeah.
are not building capacity in our young people, and so they are getting, further on down the pipeline, educationally, sports, life, whatever. Hopefully, they're having these experiences, and there is very little capacity built. And then next thing you know, surprise, they're an adult.
Mm,
Oops,
mm,
out in the real world,
mm,
and now they've got to get a job and have a car and have all these things and be responsible for themselves. And truthfully, the skills aren't there. And I don't blame the young people. Okay. They were raised by somebody in
mm,
environments that wasn't something that we valued, that building of capacity.
mm,
Right.
mm,
And that's not something we want to do. Flip side of the coin, I was coaching somebody this week, professional, very high level female, and she's freaking amazing. And she's got these really significant goals. And so we're like lining professional goals, kind of queuing things up to make sure she accomplishes these things. And they're big things. And she's also wifing and mothering and,
mm.
family and whatever. And then all of a sudden she's like, okay, and right now I also want to lose weight and start lifting weights. And I was like, no, we don't. I love your enthusiasm for that. I don't know what you saw on Instagram last night, but this is not happening.
Right.
Okay, because we have to regulate and balance
Yeah.
that capacity growth, that
Yeah.
muscle building. I'm not every day going and doing bicep curls so I can have biceps, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Rest, recovery, rest,
mhm,
recovery, periodized training. It's the same thing with other goals in your life.
mm,
Periodization, rest and recovery, it's like that's
mm,
how you adapt and keep moving up. And then later when her professional life is stabilized or whatever else, then we can be like, okay, now let's shift focus again, maybe mid-year, maybe
mhm,
in the fall, maybe at the end of the year.
Hmm.
Maybe we won't get to it this year. I don't know, right? But we're
Hmm.
going to be reasonable with the demands that we put on those type
Yeah.
of individuals.
Yeah, you know my little story about how when I started coaching, I likened remodeling your life to like remodeling a house, and one of my lines is like, remodeling, so if you remodel the kitchen, bathroom, you want to like redo the house, right? And the house is your life. So if you remodel the whole house, it's not very comfortable for the occupants. It's just not. So take on the bathroom. Like, okay, remodel the bathroom. Okay, and then we're gonna hit the kitchen because like you need your, or like you're gonna do the laundry room. You're not gonna have a laundry for 3 weeks, whatever. Like, do it in phases. Definitely. I
That's a great
agree.
analogy. I got a total visual there from a like health fitness perspective. When I'm working with somebody on their health and fitness goals, we are literally ripping out all the floors. Okay. The foundation, we're
So
taking it down to the freaking studs because
exactly.
health and fitness is foundational, mental and
Mhm,
physical, foundational. So
mhm,
we're literally tearing it all out.
mhm,
So
mhm,
you don't, the house does not feel the same. It's very uncomfortable for a while, and it takes a
mhm,
long time before we have put the bricks and the flooring in place to
mhm.
start putting up walls and putting in windows and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah.
true, true,
That's a
true,
great
true.
analogy.
Well, let's talk about I think one of the key things in a mid-year reset or in a, shifting between one goal to the next set of goals is having accountability. I want to talk about
Well, you're
that.
the queen of that. I suck at that. I just do shit. And then I go, oh, yeah. Hey, what's up? I
Totally.
mean, I'm better in my old age, and we have a small little cluster there. We have a trio right now, you, me,
Yeah.
and Jen. So, yeah, but you're the queen of this. So you speak to it.
Well, so there's a lot of dimensions to this, so you could have just because I think, in habit change and forming, if you want to start learning the guitar or you want to lose weight or something like that, right? You want to take on a new goal, whatever it is. Accountability. So there's different theories of thought. Like, should you publicly announce it? Should you not publicly announce it? Should you tell them exactly what it is? Should you keep it a secret? Should you get moment? Oh man, like I think that's personal choice. I think, or it is a personal choice, and you should honor that choice, whatever it is for you. But I do know for me, speaking my intention, speaking this is happening, like for example, this just came to my mind. I remember I was in a Tony Robbins group and we met for years, and I declared like a turning point in my life. I declared that I was going, and I had a job and a house and a husband and all this stuff, and I declared that I was going to be on the road in my RV for 90 days, right? And I was like, how the hell is that gonna, I just declared it. And sometimes your massive, big, hairy, audacious goals come from those moments of like, yes, like I want this. It could come from either suffering or either like
Mhm.
inspiration, like you see someone else doing greatness, right? And you're like, I can totally do that. So wherever it comes from, like jump on that. And then publicly declaring it for me in that moment was like frightening. First of all, it's like,
Yes. Terrifying.
why? Because like, those people had listening for me. Like
Yeah.
they had, they were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And so if I wasn't getting up to that goal over the next couple weeks, months, it was about, I think it was like April, and I was going to do it in August or something. So it was like, I'd have to see them between April and August. This wasn't like, so, and it wasn't like they were, hounding me, but like I kept my word, like I believe in my word. And so I gave my word to these people, right?
Mhm.
And I gave it to myself too. And so that was huge for me. It doesn't have to be public, like, and I'm not a huge fan of like, share it on social, just like, whatever. But like people who will keep you accountable, who care for you achieving your goals, like will cheerlead and like celebrate when you succeed. Those are the people you should be sharing it with, and people that could help you and in support of it, right? Whether that's
Exactly.
people that are already in your life or go find those people, right? If you want
Exactly.
to take on something that you've never done before and nobody in your life, you're looking left, looking right, there's nobody that's up to this, go find those people. So go put yourself in those environments, in those scenarios, whatever, if it happens to be someone and make sure that they are also people worthy of being accountable as well. It's great when you like have an accountability buddy, right?
Mutual.
It could be a mastermind group like us. It's a trio, and it's so what is it? Or a coach. Like you and I. Like I was digging one of my clients. I was like, "Hey, you said you get me that thing. I haven't seen it." He's like, "Oh," right. So,
Totally.
like that.
Now,
Those people.
sometimes you do need to hire those people,
Yes.
okay?
Oh,
Because you might
yes.
not be surrounded. Your friends and
Yes.
family group might be part of the problem. Okay,
100.
you set these great goals, and next thing they're bringing the Ben and Jerry's and putting on the Netflix. You know what I mean, or whatever all is going, and you're like, "Well, I was gonna get up early tomorrow and go on that run, but this feels pretty good right now, except I'll have diarrhea in the morning and I'm not going to bed on time." Okay, that's not gonna work, people.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to either be in a group,
Yeah.
an accountability group, and you can find those. How do you find those?
A lot of different ways. So I did want to say one, oh, there was something I wanted to say about, anyway, okay. So how do you find those? So I was amazed, like I found some Facebook groups, so if you have a specific, you'd be amazed. There's all crazy amount of things on, you don't even have to be on social media to be on a Facebook group. You can just go on Facebook and go right to groups and you don't have to do all the rest of it. So those are fantastic. It depends on what it is. Sometimes meetups, those can be like a hiking group or something like that. And then professional, so there are paid mastermind groups that you can be in, like if it's on a
Mhm.
specific topic, right? And I would just say like start um, like hoarding around something is what I want to say. Like I was interested in YouTube, like learning more about YouTube and getting stronger at making videos. So I was like, I just start hanging out in the places that they hang out online. I'm looking at videos, I'm checking out things, and then, different people, this, they throw up a course and whatever. So if you get into that course, they usually have a cohort or a group or something like that. So if it's in alignment, like I'm looking to create masterminds for my contractors, right? So creating a cohort of contractors so that they can share information. They can, share with each other problems, benefits of this work that didn't work, right? It's so good if you're in business to be having people on a similar plane giving you feedback, right? And giving you ideas as well.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, people exist all around you and you'll find them in the strangest places. But if your goal is to learn how to run, then you join running communities. If
Mhm.
it's to whatever, go backpacking, you go find those people. If it's to do the gym, you find that. If it's to build a business, you go into these entrepreneurial groups specific to the industry that you want to be in,
Mhm.
and you start associating with those pockets of people. Or if it's schooling and education, obviously the people that are drawn to that type of education, whether it's a trade skill or study,
Yeah.
then go find them. They
Mhm.
do exist.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
know that. I mean, honestly, the pandemic really, unfortunately, we haven't come out of so many of these repercussions. And one of them is that people forgot that there's a whole life
Mm.
outside of their computer and online life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's just one of my biggest things with people right now, working with people, is like, just turn it off for a hot second and just go find some real humans to talk to, please.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's local associations, there's
Mhm.
chambers, there's networking mix. Like I went to the
Rotary Club.
Yeah, I went to the interior designers meeting recently, talking to other contractors, like be social, be out and be with people. And if you have people in your life like me, like that are up to accountability, like they probably have ideas. Like if they're in groups, like how did you get in those groups? So ask them, right?
Mhm.
So, but there's infinite. If you have an intention, like I want some accountability, start maybe with your friends if you have a good resource there. If you've got people that can hold the walls with you and will hold you accountable, and then just like I'm gonna find one. Like just start looking. I'm gonna find
Yeah.
one. So
I mean, we really want people, and that's before we wrap this up, to be understanding that it's about the middle of the year ish.
Mhm.
You can go out and buy a new calendar like me, put the old one away, whether the first half was good for you or not. I do keep mine because there's a lot of valuable things that transpired, right? But you
Mhm.
don't have to. Maybe it wasn't great, and that's okay. You can also close the door on it and be like, okay, but the second half, I'm going to get down to business here,
Mhm.
right? I'm refocused on what it is that's important to me
Mhm.
to achieve this year, my values, my goals, my purpose, and I'm going to reinvest the second half in that. Either I'm doubling down on what I've accomplished or I'm just going to change directions. And
Mhm.
I'm giving myself the freedom to do that and the power to do that.
Yeah, and like when I was talking about like I finished this last quarter, like we did my cohort and I, the Miracle Quarter, you know, we shared what did we get out of it? From working, like I'll tell you in that cohort, so we meet Sunday mornings, and I said, have you guys felt value in this? You know, should we continue on? Yeah, everybody re-upped. We're like, yes, 100%. You know, and they could, you know, quantify it, things like that. And then it was like, all right, and what did you accomplish? Like, so celebrate, you know, so sometimes you'll just be in a group for so long and it's like, am I achieving what I said I was going to achieve? Like take a pause and reflect, you know. So so this coming week we're going to share, you know, what have we completed since our last session? Like, how did you grow in ways that you didn't even expect, right? So some things I set out to do this and I did those, and that's awesome. And then some things I also learned and I didn't know I was going to learn along the way, right? And celebrate that. Like that's you going, you know, it's these seasons of our lives when we lose track of all the awesomeness. Like I haven't done this in a while, but it's reminding me that I was making once a month, like collages of pictures from my phone and putting it into Canva and just doing these
Wow.
collages. Seeing what I was up to in my life, I was like, I have a radiant life, you know, but you can just, you know, get so bogged down in like day, you know, Groundhog Day, one day looks like the next. But when I look back at the pictures of the friends and the faces and the places that I've been to, it inspires me. It's like, wow, that's so yummy, right?
That's a really cool way to take inventory.
Mm,
You know, because all right, we're this episode's going to be what, early June when it
mhm,
goes out. That's only 5 months into the year.
mhm.
Okay. You were just discussing or describing that, you know, the collage and all the thing. And I just had this like, you know, 50,000 frames kind of collage go through my brain. Holy shit.
A
What
lot of,
I personally, I'm giving myself kudos, have accomplished in the last 5 months
right.
is blowing my own mind. Okay.
Yeah.
I already was moving on because I got the new calendar into this. I didn't appropriately take inventory and give credit where credit is due
Mm,
to the incredible amount of work that had to transpire for me to be here right now
yeah.
so that I can move
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
with the next 6, 7 months.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is what a huge take home message for people.
Hmm.
Right.
But
Sometimes we do get caught in, well, I had 10 goals and I only achieved three, and, you know, you kind of whatever. But this looking back and taking inventory,
mhm, mhm.
actually, I think that needs to be the first step.
Oh, well, you know, in my program last year, remember my return to the light. So that's what I do on an annual basis, right? And so and I do this each week of my week. Part of my planner has reflection time for the past week, and not just from a goals perspective, but like what worked, what didn't work, what are you going to do differently in the next week and stuff. So I wouldn't say it's like just looking at yummy pictures and stuff like I talked about the collage, but yeah, like life it goes pretty quick, man. You know, it can get going
Yes,
pretty
it
quick.
freaking does. The pictures are just an easy way to do it, but you're right. They're just going to trigger ideas and memories and things of, you know, like that. But
Because oftentimes those pictures, like those moments, the getting together with a friend or whatnot, it doesn't show up on a goals list either. You know, it's like your trips to Ojai and these things that you've done outside of it. It wasn't a personal goal, I would say. It wasn't like you said, "Oh, I'm going to visit these three people." Like check, check, check. It's like those opportunities came up for good or bad, you know, and you're like, there you were, you know, and you did those. And those are the memories of our life that are the fabric of what happened in that period. So it may not show up on the goals
exactly.
list, but it happened in your life, and it's a beautiful way to honor and be like, yeah. So,
That's why you keep your camera, your calendar too.
mm-hmm.
Because when you get to the end of the year and you do this end of year cycle, you're like, wait, what happened
I
in
know.
April? I don't know. Whatever. I don't remember a thing. Really?
Totally.
Go look at your calendar.
Totally. That's usually how I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Oh my God, yeah. Like I just was reminded that something showed up. Oh, I got a reminder about Iron Man. Oh, I was looking at my medal and it said May 19th, 2024. And I was like, wow, 2 years ago I did Iron Man. That was so cool. So yeah. So
I love it. I love it.
all
Okay,
right, well
Megan.
what's the one thing? What's your one takeaway from today? What do you want to have people leave with? What do you think?
I think I've changed it a few times since we sort of got to the conclusion here. But really, what it is, I mean, people, I want to give people the permission they might not be giving themselves, but really,
Mm,
I want them to give it to themselves
mm,
that it's perfectly okay to get to the middle of the year and start again
mm,
in whatever way, shape, or form they need to.
mm,
Again, changing directions or doubling down on or whatever. It's depending on what it is, right? But just giving them that freedom, permission, if you will, but then also what an incredible opportunity that is, right? So it's not just about taking inventory and resetting goals, but what an opportunity to put an incredible sense of value
Mm,
on your life.
mm,
My time and my actions are all that I have.
mm,
Okay. All this other stuff around me means nothing. So if I'm not utilizing my time and my actions in the way that is true for me, best for me, makes me happy, thriving lifestyle, all that kind of stuff, then I'm kind of missing the mark, right? So
mm,
this is really an opportunity to do that.
mm. I love that. I would say mine is, people get going so busy in life. I'm a big fan. I do a weekly review, of my week and stuff, and then a bigger one at the end of the month. And I don't think people know enough of why you would do that. So I would just say try it sometime, whether you do it on a weekly basis or like mid-year and an annual. Try it one time and you might be surprised if you sit down, and you can look online for templates and stuff. I think we've given you a lot of ideas here, but like, you do a review, it's so valuable for your spirit, for your soul, for, you to re-up on something. I think if we're here for growth, looking at the growth that we've had is very empowering, and looking up to what do we want to get up to, that I think it puts the power back in your hands for setting a life with intention, like living deliberately, if you will. So, but you got to set that time aside. So make it. Don't just, buzzing through life. A deliberate life is one that is, evaluated, and it's a lot of self awareness too, with
Yeah.
intention. So that's
A
my takeaway.
deliberate life is a life well lived.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. One life, live it. All right. What's our motto though for taking away?
Well, how your life looks is not that important
Mm,
compared to how it feels.
mm. And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.